Everyone. Welcome to the Running Start New Student Orientation for the 2024-2025 school year. We'll be going over information that you need to know as a new Running Start student, and this will be relevant for students who are in person as well as who are taking classes online. My name is Chelsea. I'm the advisor for the Running Start program at CWU Sammamish, and I work with students who are in our immediate area on the west side in Sammamish. We're taking classes in person and online, and then I do work with a number of students who are online only, and I know that you are not anywhere near the CWU Sammamish campus, so we'll make sure that you have access to online classes. So this orientation is for you as well. So some names that you might see or might recognize as you go through your CWU Sammamish email, and for your CWU student email, are some of our Sammamish staff. And the actual CWU Sammamish location is very small, so our staff is quite small. You may receive an email from our Center Operations Specialists who manage our front office, and that would be Mirva Sivukov or John Streepy. So if you see emails from them, please make sure to check them and read them through. And then John Streepy is also one of our faculty members. We have a number of faculty who teach here on the CWU Sammamish campus, as well as faculty members who teach online. Most of the online classes are taught from other campus locations, particularly from Ellensburg, because it is our main campus and it is the largest campus. So not every faculty member is associated with the Sammamish location. So you want to make sure you're familiarizing yourself with your instructors' names and make sure that you're communicating with them. So some important notes. If you've met with me, of course, we will have gone over these things, but they're so important that I will cover them at the very beginning of our orientation today, and then we will, you're probably get annoyed the number of times I remind everybody to check these elements over the course of the quarter, especially at the beginning. So you want to make sure these things are working for you before classes start next week on the 25th. You want to make sure your MyCWU account is set up yet. If you have not accessed your MyCWU account, you need to make sure to do so. That's where you'll go to access your grades, register for classes, pay your fees. You'll log into most of your courses there. It's very important. So when you go to log in, you go to my.cwu.edu. To access the web content for your courses. So if you are an online student taking online classes, you will do so through Canvas, which is our online learning platform. If you are in a hybrid class, all of the online content will be on Canvas, but even if you're taking an in-person class, most in-person classes will have a Canvas page that's used for accessing course materials, submitting assignments, oftentimes doing course discussions. So it's an important tool that most instructors use. You can access Canvas by going to canvas.cwu.edu. You can also get to it from your MyCWU homepage. And you can stay updated on important information by checking your CWU student email. This is extremely important. This is the main way that we communicate with students. If you are not checking your email, you may miss deadlines for things. You may miss important information, so please make sure you're checking your email and reading things that come in from me or that seem like they would be important from other members of CWU community. It's required to check it, and it's your responsibility. You can access your email in Canvas again from your MyCWU homepage, but you can also go to those web addresses, canvas.cwu.edu or mail.cwu.edu. So one of the important things that I get asked often is about ordering textbooks. So Running Start students are responsible for their own textbooks. They're not provided textbooks by the university. You can always check to see what kind of textbooks are required for your class by going to the bookstore, which is wildcatshop.net. You can look there to see if you are required to have any kind of physical textbook, and you can always check on another website to see if you can find it as well. But please note, some professors still use physical books, oftentimes a novel or something small. There are very few instructors that require you to carry a heavy textbook anymore. Most instructors will use online books or books that they're called inclusive access books. So they are automatically made available to you and they will show up on your Canvas page. You will see the charge on your account and it will show up, it'll say Wildcat Shop charge or something similar. Note that this just means that there's been a charge that's been added to your account from the Wildcat Shop. 99% of the time it's going to be an inclusive access textbook. You don't have to download that yourself. You don't have to order it yourself. It's automatically added into your Canvas page and charged to your account. But you can always check your syllabus, ask your instructor. If you have questions about your textbooks, if you have questions about what kind of materials you'll be using, you definitely want to make sure that you're checking and communicating with your instructors. And if you do qualify, usually it means if you are eligible for free and reduced lunch at your high school, it's possible to borrow physical textbooks from the Running Start office, but the Running Start office is not able to loan out inclusive access books. And then Running Start students are also responsible for a couple of fees. You only would be required to pay for fees for things that benefit you. So there are other fees that regular matriculated college students pay that Running Start students do not pay. But the ones that Running Start students are responsible for, there's a $25 multimodal fee per quarter. This maintains your Canvas page. And then there's a $3 per credit technology fee per quarter. This maxes out at 10 credits, so it's never more than $30 per quarter, and that maintains your student email and your student account. You may also have other fees that are associated with individual classes. So again, students are responsible for textbooks, but for example, if you are in some kind of lab science, you may be responsible for lab course materials that are mailed out to you. Oftentimes world language, for example, will have course materials, so there may be a couple of other fees that you'll see on your account. These will usually appear as a Wildcat Shop charge or university store charge, so you'd want to keep an eye out for those things. If your parents or guardians are paying your fees, you can set them up as an authorized user in MyCWU. And essentially just what this means is that your parents or guardians can log in and access your account and can make a payment on your behalf. If you want your parent or guardian to be able to call and ask questions about your fees or to have information about fees or billing, you want to make sure to do what's called a FERPA release, and I will cover that in more detail in just a moment. This should look familiar to students. If you log into your MyCWU student account and then go to your student center, you should be able to see your fall quarter schedule. This student, you'll notice, is in one class. They are taking History 144 in person on the Sammamish campus. You'll notice that in the future, they have a $40 fee due. The $40 fee would be the $25 multimodal fee plus the $3 per credit technology fee, which would be additional $15, so for a total of $40. If you are unsure about what the fees are for on your account, you can always do an account inquiry, which you'll notice on the left, and that'll help do a breakdown of the fees that you see. If you have further questions, you can always contact the student accounts office, and you'll see their number and their email there. If you click on Make a Payment near where the account inquiry is, it'll take you to something that looks like this. Certainly there's no fee that's listed on this example, but if there is a fee that, like that $40 fee for that student, it would pop up there. And they could either click Make a Payment to make the payment themselves, or you can set up your profile to include authorized users, and that's where you would go to do that. Now we're discussing FERPA regulations for parent access to records. So CWU staff, and that includes the Running Start staff, we have to follow the CWU records and FERPA policies. FERPA stands for Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, and we have to do this regarding student records. CWU takes privacy very seriously, so Running Start students, even if they are under the age of 18 and are still in high school, are still covered by the FERPA rules. So we are only able to release student information to the student and to their high school. So by signing and turning in your quarterly enrollment form, the RSEVF. means that the student is giving us permission to share information with their high school, which is why we're able to send grades at the end of the quarter. And then if there's a concern, we will always talk to your high school. But in order to share information with anyone else, including parents or guardians, the student would need to fill out a release of information form. Since we are a university, we do not send out quarterly reports. We don't send out attendance reports. We don't contact parents. If we have questions, we contact the student. If we have concerns, it goes to the high school first. But signing a release of information form means we are able to answer questions from parents and are able to share some information if they need it. If the release of information is not signed, there are a lot of things that we're not able to share with parents. If there is a concern and it goes to the high school is able to share with parents. So usually the parents are able to find out no matter what. So I always encourage students to sign the form, but it is completely up to you as a student. At the end of the quarter, Running Start, which is me, the Running Start office, provides quarterly grade reports and shares all relevant information and concerns with high school counselors or staff. So the high school is kept very much in the loop. In order to sign a release of information form, you'll want to go to My CWU. At the top of your page, you have a homepage tab, which you are automatically logged into, and then there's a student tab. You'll want to click the student tab from the column on the left, select personal, click on release of information, and then there'll be some instructions there, and you'll just add whoever you want as a designee. And there can be more than one person, of course. So most of you have already gone through this process. So each quarter we'll do advising and then do registration. Please keep in mind that in the enrollment verification form that you signed is important. For billing purposes, it's the way that your high school acknowledges that they know that you're enrolled in Running Start, and your school district agrees to pay for the tuition costs for your classes, and then CWU knows that they can bill your school district for the tuition cost of your classes. You will need a new enrollment form every quarter. Every year I have some students who think that if they do one at the beginning of the year, then that means it's good for the remainder of the year. It is only good for the individual quarter, so you want to make sure to do a new one each quarter. You do not have to go through the application process again at the beginning of each quarter, but you want to make sure that you are going through the advising and enrollment process. So you'll fill out an enrollment verification form, check in with your high school counselor about what classes you need and their high school equivalents. You want to review any quarterly course schedule and think about classes you want to take. You'll meet with me and you'll submit your enrollment form. We'll talk about your course selections, your college goals. I can talk about any questions or information that you have or need about college. And the last step will always be to register for classes. For those of you who are in the area, I am available in person on Wednesdays, and then I'm available online using Teams or Zoom if you prefer, any day of the week, so Monday through Friday. An important thing to note are schedule changes. So for the first 5 days of the quarter, starting on September 25th, so this goes through October 1st, Tuesday, October 1st, you can drop a course with no penalty during the change of schedule period. So this just means that the class just disappears from your transcript. And it's as if you were never enrolled. So if you decide a class isn't working for you, if it doesn't work with your schedule, you can just withdraw and drop the class within the first 5 days. You can withdraw from a course within the first 6 weeks. So after the first 5 days, you have the first 6 weeks of the quarter to do what's called an uncontested withdrawal, which means that you can withdraw from a class for any reason and you don't have to provide any kind of, information to anyone for that. This results in a W on your transcript. So after that October 1st date, if you withdraw from a class, you receive a W. It does not impact your GPA. So it's kind of a placeholder that indicates that you were enrolled in the class for a significant amount of time, but that you withdrew. And again, it doesn't impact your GPA, it doesn't count as a 0. It just means that you were in the class and then withdrew from the class. During that change of schedule period, you can also swap or add classes, which means that if you were in a class and you would rather be in another class, you can switch into that class and the first one disappears and the new one shows up, and you can just make an easy switch. Or you can add a class. So if you want to add an additional class to your schedule, you can do so during that time. It is, of course, dependent on availability of courses. So the course has to be open and there has to be space in the class for you. Or sometimes you may need to seek instructor permission. You want to make sure to discuss any changes with your high school counselor, especially if it's something that relates to a high school graduation requirement. You're encouraged to check in with the Running Start advisor before making schedule changes, especially during those first 5 days. It's possible to make them on your own from your MyCWU account, but it's also helpful to kind of keep everyone in the loop to make sure we all know which classes that you're taking and are making the best choices for your schedule. In terms of academic standards, so CWU Running Start is actually slightly stricter than the main university's academic standards. The main university does a warning, probation, suspension system. Since Running Start is a more condensed version of the 4-year university experience, we just do a probation and suspension system. So to remain in good academic standing, you'll want your cumulative quarterly GPA to be a 2.0 or higher at CWU at the end of the quarter. So that essentially means you need to have about a C average. If your quarterly GPA drops below a 2.0, you will be placed on academic probation, which essentially means that we'll need to have a conversation about what was going on. If there are some extenuating circumstances, we'll come up with a plan to help make sure that that doesn't happen again in the future, and may require students to check in with me. If you were previously on probation and then your quarterly cumulative GPA drops below 2.0 again in the subsequent quarter, you will be placed on suspension. So suspension can be appealed. We know that there are extenuating circumstances sometimes that happen that are out of a student's control, but there are lots of safeguards in place to prevent a GPA from dropping that low. So those things in mind as you were going through the quarter and think about whether or not a withdrawal is a better option. Every student has access to tutoring. So our online campus is very small, so there isn't any in-person tutoring on campus, but regardless of where a student is taking a class, there is always tutoring and course assistance available online. Tutoring is available online in a variety of subjects. So most subjects, unless it's something extremely obscure, you should be able to receive assistance with. And tutoring is available between 5 a.m. and 12 a.m. every day. So it is open almost 24 hours a day. If you are studying late at night or early in the morning, you should still be able to get some sort of help. Students can access the writing and math center. So writing, of course, if you're taking an English class, there'll be lots of writing, but regardless of what class you were in, any kind of writing you can get assistance with, as well as any kind of math. So there should be support with any math level. And that could also include, like a physics class or a class that has math involved, but is not necessarily specifically a math class. And then academic coaching is available as well. So that could be support from a mentor or a coach, which could help with, come up with a calendar, or if you need help organizing yourself, feeling like you need help staying on task, all of those things are something that an academic coach could help support with. And then that link there is to the Academic Success website, and you go there for online tutoring. If you receive disability services at your high school, so if you have a 504 or an IEP or receive some kind of accommodation, you need to be aware that your accommodations don't necessarily transfer directly from high school to college. You would need to establish an account with Disability Services by going to their website there. And then you have a meeting with Disability Services where you discuss the accommodations that you need. And then your professors at the beginning of the quarter will be notified, and then you'll work with your instructors throughout the school year to make sure that you're receiving accommodations. So as an example, if you need extra time on tests, That's something you would discuss with Disability Services. Disability Services office would email your instructor at the beginning of the quarter saying this student needs so-and-so accommodations, including extra time on tests. And then if a test comes up and you need extra time, you would discuss that with your instructor, and they would need to provide a time and space for extra time to complete a test. So these are some things that I always want to make sure students know, as well as things that I've heard from faculty, staff, and former students about how to be successful, especially in your first quarter as a Running Start student. Please make sure you check your CWU email and Canvas every day. If it looks like there's nothing new or important in there, it's okay not to dive in super deep, but it's important to make sure you're checking your CWU student email. And then your Canvas page. So even if you are in an asynchronous class and there's nothing that you need to work on for that day, instructors can still send out messages in your inbox for class, for example, and it's just important to make sure that you're making sure that you're keeping up with the class and everything is going well. So I'd recommend at least logging into Canvas every day. Please keep in mind that communication is so important, especially if you are an online student. So you'll need to reach out to instructors if you have any questions or concerns, especially at the beginning of the quarter if something doesn't make sense, or if you're confused about something, or if you just want to double check and make sure that everything is making sense and you know what the expectations are. Don't hesitate to reach out. Online instructors should be good about responding to students. You'll want to make sure not to have parents contact your instructors on your behalf. I do get a lot of questions from parents, and that's okay. I'm kind of the point of communication for a lot of people, but it's important to make sure your parents are not contacting your professors. You can use a calendar to keep track of assignments and deadlines. Everything is done in a 10-week quarter plus a finals week, so everything moves pretty quickly. It's going to be important to make sure that you're keeping track of when things are due and you're staying on top of things. Take notes if you're listening to lectures, if you do have a lecture or a recording of a lecture if you're online, and then reviewing those notes regularly. It can be very helpful, especially if notes build on each other from day to day. Schedule study time and then schedule breaks. Make sure you're scheduling your self-care in there and giving yourself some breaks as well. If you need help, you're welcome to reach out to the Running Start staff. Reach out to me. I'm kind of usually the first point of communication for students. If you need help with something or need information that is something that I can't directly give, I will help connect you with someone who's able to answer the question. Reach out to professors for sure, first line of defense. Tutoring and other support services if you need assistance. There's lots of support online. And then your fellow students. If you know someone in your class, it's wonderful to be able to get support from your peers. If you are having a technology problem, and I know that setting up your MyCWU student account, you're probably creating that epically long password, and there's all kinds of different things that happen with the technology here. If you are having issues with the CWU system, or if you're having problems just with your internet or with technology on your side, please make sure you tell your professor immediately and then seek help. So if you need help with the CWU system, it's a good idea to contact CWU IT services. They're super helpful and they can help students get into locked accounts, reset passwords, all that kind of thing. And then if you need help on your side of things, you want to make sure to let your professors know you're having a technology issue and then get that taken care of as soon as you can. Connect with other students to study and collaborate. Again, if you know people in your class, it's oftentimes really helpful to kind of build a little community there and support each other with classes and ideas. And then ask other people, parents, friends, mentors, to help keep you accountable for deadlines. So keeping those things in mind. Oftentimes, deadlines in college are kind of hard and fast deadlines, and instructors oftentimes are not amenable to helping students make up late or missing work if a student doesn't turn something in on time. So please keep that in mind. Important dates to remember September 25th is when fall classes start, so it's a week from today. Your enrollment verification form should be turned in by this date to make sure you are not charged tuition. October 1st, which is the following Tuesday, is the change of schedule period end. You can add, drop, or change classes until the end of the day on this day. All of your fees are due on this day. It doesn't mean that if you haven't paid your fees, you will be kicked out of classes. That won't happen. But you will start to see interest accruing there. So it's a good idea to pay fees by that date if you can. November 12th, which I believe is a Friday, is our uncontested withdrawal deadline. So that means you can withdraw from a class for any reason until that day. You don't have to provide any kind of documentation. December 6th is the last day of instruction, so you can request a hardship withdrawal or a complete withdrawal from all of your classes by that date. So the last day of instruction is December 6th, again, that's a Friday. That would be the last day of classes, officially the last day you'd be expected to be in class, the last day you may be going over something new. And then you can also, I was saying that there are a couple of other kinds of withdrawals that you can request. You'd have to petition for what's called a hardship withdrawal, which just means that if there's something difficult going on in your life, an extenuating circumstance that prevents you from doing well in a class or in your classes, you can petition for a hardship withdrawal, which means you'd be withdrawn from your classes. It shows up as an HW on your transcript, doesn't impact your GPA, and is an indicator to anybody seeing your transcript later on that something was going on, an extenuating circumstance that meant you needed to withdraw. Or you can do a complete withdrawal, so if you just feel like the quarter is not going well, you're not going to do well in any of your classes, you can completely withdraw from the university. You would end up with a W in all of your classes, but it does not impact your GPA. It doesn't mean you can't return for the following quarter, but it just means that you have to remove yourself from all of your classes for that remainder of that quarter. December 9th through 13th is final exams week. The Monday, the 9th, is always a study day, so there would never be any finals done on that day. If you have an in-person final, you would be notified whether or not it was, which day it was, so whether or not it was on the 10th or later in the week. Once your finals are done, once you've completed final papers, projects, submitted any work, taken any final exams, then you are done for the quarter. So if that's that Friday, which is the 13th, then that's great. That's the last day of the quarter for you. If you're done that Wednesday, for example, on the 11th, then you're done for the quarter. You will be on winter break until we come back for winter quarter, which will be on January 7th. And then December 18th, which is that following Wednesday, you can view your grades in my CWU, and that's when they will officially be available on your transcript, and that is when I will send them over to your high school. If you need to schedule an advising appointment or would like to schedule a meeting for any reason, you are always welcome to schedule a meeting for any reason. I'm available online Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. I'm available on Wednesdays in person. I actually live about 2 hours away from campus, so I commute on Wednesdays, but I'm always available online during the week, so you're able to get a hold of me somehow. You can schedule a meeting by visiting my bookings page. The link is available there. It's also online on the CWU Running Start website, as well as the CWU Sammamish website. And if you're unable to find the link on the website, it is available in my email signature, so it's always available to you. And then, of course, feel free to email me anytime. If you have any questions, anything that you need, please feel free to just shoot me an email. This is normally a time when we would go over library resources with one of our faculty members, John Spivey. He's not available right now. But if you go to the CWU library link there, it will connect you with the library resources, and there are all kinds of resources that you can access online through the library. And this would include accessing databases. So if you're doing research for classes, the databases, we have access to so many different forms of research and databases with lots of different research journals. So there's lots and lots available there. There are a number of department guides for research, which have been kind of adjusted and adapted and added to by professors and instructors in the past to kind of help guide you in finding the best information that you need based on specific classes or subjects. You can request books. You can either see books online, e-books, or oftentimes there are scanned books. I believe you can request a physical book be mailed to you. You would, of course, have to make sure that it is returned, but I've never had a student do that option if they're not in person on the main campus of the library. But I know that is an option for you there. So lots available on the library website. You can also access the library either from any of the pages on the CWU website. If you go scroll down to the bottom, there's a link to the library, or from your My CWU homepage, there's a link to library as well. I know that this is not an in-person session, so if you have any questions, if any of the information we've gone over today has prompted any questions, please feel free to email me. And then you'll want to make sure to check your CWU email. So I'll send out some further information, links to some of the information that was included in the presentation, as well as the CWU student handbook. I'm sending it to your CWU student email to make sure that everyone is checking there. If you do not know how to get into your CWU email, you will need to make sure to contact me so we can make sure to remedy that. But again, thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions that are about anything throughout the quarter, let me know. Other than that, I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. I hope you have a good beginning of your quarter online.